got a couple of ninja art tips for you to get started with today. And one of them is I've taken out some watercolor out of my watercolor pad, and I wanted to show you what happens with that when you get to the end of a watercolor pad. There's this really cool thing you can do. Being an artist, you know, artists are often naturally hoarders, but I like to call myself a person who repurposes things, which is a little bit more positive. So I never throw these things away. This is a very good folio for keeping pastel or charcoal artworks in. It's got a nice rigid back. It's all archival, acid-free, so it's safe for putting your things in. And you can pop your charcoal drawings or pastel artworks in here. It's got a bit of thickness there, so you can actually put quite a big stack. Another thing you can put in there is your painting starters. So any of you who have done the mini course that we've got called Wow Backgrounds, in one painting session you can end up with 6 beautiful abstract backgrounds. And so I've now got, because I've done this session quite a few times, where I just go rip, rip, rip and do a whole pile of abstract backgrounds. And so I used one of these as my folio and I chuck them all in there, and it's called Painting Starters. And I get a great big Nico pen or Sharpie and I write in a big block here, I say Painting Starters. And so it's got the label on the front and I know what's inside it, and there's a whole stack of abstracts that I can pick out and choose and then do a drawing or a painting on top of at any time I feel like. So I love doing that. But here's another thing you can do. I'm going to do it with this one. What I love is the back of this page here is quite absorbent paper, and it's heavyweight paper. And so it's a little bit like watercolor paper. It's a similar kind of color. Similar. It's not pure white. It's not creamy white like this one, but it's not pure white like bleached office paper. So it's actually really good for using as testing paper when you're painting with watercolor and you need to have a little test piece. So this is what I do. I'm going to use this for something different. I'll show you in a second. Get my blade out. I love taking the art kit on the plane because then I can paint on the plane if I get bored. I'm just going to fold this back here. And then I'm going to reuse this. But what I do is I can use this as a cutting board. I get a nice big metal ruler and I chop it up. You can also just use scissors, but you can just take this and chop it into a whole pile of pieces. Doesn't matter what they look like. And I chop it into all these little card-sized ones. I do double up so it takes me less time. Using this as a cutting board. Keep going, a bit smaller. So these are going to be my test pieces for testing my watercolor tone and color before it goes onto the painting. Anyone who's been painting watercolor for a while, you've probably understood that you need to be testing your colors before you slap them into the middle of a painting, because you can't really take them back off again. So see, what I've got now is 20, 30, I don't know how many that is, 20 little test pieces, nice thick card. So in the same way that we used this for testing piece of real nice cotton rag paper, we can just use these. So I keep a stack of these with my watercolor set so that I can use them as test pieces. So that's one half of it that you can repurpose. The other thing you can do is, these watercolor pads are usually fairly heavy cardboard, so they're perfect for doing journal covers or twinchy booklets. We've been doing a little bit in the way of twinchy booklets. That's a whole nother story. I won't go into that, but we'll give you a link to find out more about that. And so you can use this lovely heavyweight cardboard to cut it up. You can make templates out of it. So if you're making little booklets and you want everything all the same size, you make the little template out of it. So you just cut that up and use it for making artist books. This is an artist book that I'm working on at the moment with paper folding. So I've got lots of little paper folding things in here and all my scribble journal notes about how to make different paper folds for pop-up artist books. So the heavyweight cardboard on the outside here, that's how you can build it with one of those and glue watercolor paper on the inside. Or if you're creating interesting journals, this one used to be one of those flexible vinyl covers like this one. Really flexible, sort of plasticky vinyl cover. It's called polypropylene, I think is the official name. So what I did was I got one of these really thick cardboard pieces, cut it to exactly the right size, and glued it with really strong building glue onto the front of this plasticky cover that's never going to come off. And then I started decorating. I black gesso all over it and then started decorating it with my own handmade polymer clay steampunk pieces on here. So that's a really heavyweight journal cover that makes it feel like it's a hardback book now, just by adding that extra piece of thick cardboard onto the front of this journal. Like, it's more substantial now and it feels like something that's going to last in my fun mixed media journal that I'm having fun playing in. That's a bit of fun to use that cardboard for, so it's really lovely to repurpose things. So how do you like that? Is that a fun ninja art tip?